You know, I really like tea. What is up, everybody? Welcome back to the channel, and welcome to a modding guide for Grand Theft Auto San Andreas, the Definitive Edition. So I've been playing this game on my channel and streaming it and stuff for quite some time now. I'm about halfway through, and it's been such a good time. I've been having a blast playing this game. But there are several issues, of course, with the Definitive Edition. And while we can't fix them all, there are several great mods out there that make it a much, much better experience. So, yeah, I'm going to walk you through some of those different mods today, go over some of the ones I recommend, touch on a few that I don't, and I'm going to show you guys exactly step-by-step how to install them, configure them, and get them all running. Because there is not a whole lot of information on that out there, and it's pretty simple for the most part. Should be simple enough to understand. But yeah, let's go ahead and hop right into it. So starting off, I just want to give a big shout and thank you to this guy, just Gesha. I'll have his video linked down below in the description. It's really, really well made. It shows off a lot of the stuff I'm going to be recommending here. It got me into modding this for the first time. So yeah, go check it out, show it some love. It'll be linked down below. And yeah, let's move on to the mods though. So the first mod I'm gonna have you guys install is the fog distance fix. And basically what this is, when the game first came out, there was no fog in it, and it made the distance scaling and the feel of the map just seem really, really off. Now they updated the game and they added what they called a ground haze, but it really doesn't work very well. It doesn't even take effect unless you're like way up high in the air, and then it's just this weird like little blanket fog. It's just not great. I don't think I even have it turned on. This is what legit fog looks like, and you can even just tell from the screenshots. It's like that. It looks exactly like that. Like you're driving down a country road, everything just feels like super, I don't know, what's the word for it? It seems like confined to its own area. Each piece of the map feels like its own distinct separate area, which was kind of the whole original purpose of the fog. And it just looks good, right? It looks good, it looks realistic. This is the way to do fog, and you need to download this. So there's this mod, and then there's also this one. Now this one is essentially a lighting fix, and it gives this kind of a warm yellow glow to San Andreas to kind of make it more like the orangish glow of the originals. But you know, it's more of like what you'd expect from a remastered title. It's warm, it's yellow, it's that sunny California feel. Again, it just looks good. So be sure and install that. And then for this one is called RoSA Project Evolve. Now what this does is there's several different textures in the game that were like upscaled, but they weren't done very well. And what this does is it goes through and like redesigns everything from the ground up. Like for example, this painting here. This is what it looks like with the mod. And just like as like a little side thing, little side comparison, that's what it looked like in the original. So, and even in the remaster and the Definitive Edition, it just looks like a kind of a crudely upscaled version. But this clearly is just like redesigned from the ground up. And there's so many different artworks and signs and all kinds of cool stuff. Billboards that have been corrected by this, photos. I mean, it just looks really, really good. So you have that, and then this right here, this one's a little bit different. This, instead of being one mod, is just like a collection of mods, and they're all by the same guy called Zeneric. And even in the process of making this video, I found that he'd come out with some new stuff since I, previously modded my game and started playing it. So I went ahead and downloaded all the new ones. Like he's got new house textures, new textures for the palm tree, the bikes. Basically what he's going through and doing is he's finding different textures for different objects in the game and just replacing them with his own version. Telephone poles, garbage cans, cash registers, soda machines. I've downloaded every single thing he's done and installed it in the San Andreas, all except for two. I didn't install these neon covered wheels because even though they look amazing, I just don't really want that in the game. And I didn't install this classic CJ texture because I have a different one that I prefer. But yeah, everything else I've got downloaded and installed, and it looks great. Like I've actually compared some of them side by side. So much more realistic looking. Like just even take a look at this hydrant, all right? This is regular Definitive Edition. This is his version. I mean, come on. It's obvious which one is better. Anyway, moving on, let's go on to classic water. So what this does is it replaces the water in the game to look a little bit more like it was in the original. Right? It looks a little bit brighter. It's got a bit more of a reflective look to it. It looks more like actual water looks. but it still keeps like all the same good lighting and the textures, and so it's just a big improvement to the water. So after this, we've got several different like character redesigns, right? You got one for OG Loke, you got one for Kendl, and most importantly, you got one for Denise. Like, have you seen what Denise looks like in the Definitive Edition versus in the original? Yeah, this mod adds back in her original face, but obviously remastered. And it looks great. It looks like how Denise should look. And it does basically the same thing for Kendl and OG Loke. It's just obviously not as noticeable. So for CJ, this is called the Proper Player Retex, and just got updated recently, so I just now reinstalled it to add some of the newer content to it. It's still kind of a work in progress, and it's not perfect. Like, you can even tell, especially like the color on the back of his neck doesn't quite match the rest of his body. Some of my viewers actually said they prefer it without it, but I've compared it with the mod, without the mod. You can see for yourself. I think it looks better with it, but that really comes down to personal preference. Moving on, we've got Proper Vehicles Retext, which once again just upscales stuff in the on all the vehicles, upscales the designs. Like, look at this one right here, right? This is kind of like an upscaled one. It's kind of blurry. You can't read it well. This is completely remade and remastered. So yeah, that's basically what you'll notice a lot of these mods do, is they fix stuff that should have been fixed in the remaster originally. So, doing their job for them. Like, look, this is classic wheels, this is the Definitive Edition, and this is the Proper Vehicle Retex. You can clearly see the difference in this. It's just a huge improvement. All right, so then you've got, so here, this is a weird one. Original HQ icons, and then you have classic old radar icons, right? Two different mods that supposedly do the same thing. Now, I have installed and tried out both of these mods, and this one came out on the 12th, this one came out on the 20th, so I assume that this one, being like a week newer, would be the better mod. But as far as I can tell, this newer one does nothing. It doesn't change the icons at all, whereas this older one does. And so this is the one that I've linked down below in the description. And yeah, you can see this is what the icons look like normally. This is what it looks like with the mod. I actually personally prefer the newer icons a little bit, but if you really like the older ones better, you can use this and install it. Anyway, for the next mod, what this one does is it improves the wasted and busted overlay, and it basically kind of makes it look a little bit more like the original, right? And in that same line of thinking, this right here restores the original like fonts to the game, right? Like, you can kind of see the difference. Here's like, oh, you died, right? And it's in a different language, obviously. Here's you died with original textures. Has a little bit more of that classic San Andreas look to it. So again, this is kind of personal preference, whether you like the new fonts, you like the old ones. I like the old ones better, so I've chosen to use this. And yeah, that's downloaded. That's down below if you want to check it out, just like everything else. And so it's kind of nitpicking, but it really does help improve the game. It's really some of the little changes that really make the most difference. And along that same line of thinking, this is a loading screen logo fix. And I mean, this is really nitpicking down to the wire. But again, it is better, right? Basically, on the loading screens for all the games in the trilogy, it just shows the old logo. Like with San Andreas, it just says Grand Theft Auto San Andreas. This mod adds in the newer logo, the Definitive Edition. It has the Definitive Edition, has the little gold outline. Again, it's kind of like rolling your eyes, like, really, man, you're getting right down to the logos, but hey, it does help, right? And another fix for the loading screens is this is called Loadscreens 4K Definitive Extended. And what this does is it takes the wallpapers that load during the loading screen and it swaps them out with remastered versions of them. Like, this is the classic version. Again, this is the Definitive Edition, upscaled, looks a little bit better, but here's the modified, where it's been completely remade from the ground up, so much more clear and good, right? It's got the classic ones totally remastered, it's got some new ones thrown in, it just looks really, really good. So be sure and download and install that as well. All right, so moving on, this is a mod which unfortunately was broken in the latest patch. I used this in patch 1.03 and it worked great. Then patch 1.04 came out, totally broke this. This is called the uncompressed sounds of Grand Theft Auto. And what it does is all the different like audio effects like police sirens, just the cars, people talking, whatever. All that stuff has like compressed audio, and you can really hear the difference between compressed and uncompressed. Borrowing a short clip from just Gesha's video for a second, let me show you the difference between sirens. Here's compressed. And here's uncompressed. Sounds amazing, right? Well, like I said, if you install this mod on the latest patch, it actually breaks some of the game's sounds. The game is like weirdly quiet, and certain sounds play or they don't play. It's really, really weird. So it's unfortunate that it's been broken. I don't know if it's going to be updated to work around the new stuff. It was last updated in November. Now, if this mod is broken, you're probably thinking, well, Kes, if it's broken, why are you linking it down below for us to download? And I will explain why. You shouldn't download this particular mod, but see this little optional files here, the radio stations of San Andreas, restores cut radio station tracks from Grand Theft Auto San Andreas. This is just kind of like a compilation of an actual mod that's found elsewhere, but this puts them all in like one file. And this is the source that you should get for this particular mod, because this one still works and it works really, really well. And it adds back in like all the cut music that was no longer like relicensed for the game. This adds it all back in, and it does so really, really well. So you're going to want to go ahead and download this section and add that to your mods list. All right, so moving on, this is the Real HD AK-47 mod, and obviously it just adds in a more realistic texture for the AK-47. Kind of a small extra thing, but definitely nice to have. Then for this, you've got the wires texture fix, which kind of makes it from this big black line of all the wires being too close together and the game just like thinking it's one big wire. It makes them look more like actual wires. And it's just in like a more country area of the map, but it's a good fix to throw in there. So, okay, so for this next one, you've got the Catalina Bank Retex fix. So when you go with Catalina to rob the bank, this is the classic bank, this is the Definitive Edition version, this is the mod. Again, kind of restores it to look more like the original, but upscaled and remade properly. Then from this, you have the improved pedestrian tattoos. Again, it makes it like look at the difference in some of these guys. You've got before, you've got after. You have before. I mean, really, this, what even is this? Who would pay money for this? I would kill somebody if he gave me something this bad looking, but then you have this. You see the difference? It's just like RoSA Project Evolve, like remaking some bad textures into something really cool. That's exactly what this mod does. And it's a fairly new one as well. All right, so this one is the Realistic Eyes mod, and basically it does exactly what it says. It gives all the different characters much more realistic looking eyes. I found it sometimes works, sometimes doesn't. Sometimes it makes people look like they're looking in weird directions. But generally speaking, it does give them a lot more realistic like looking eyes. You know, it makes people look like less sleepy, like they've gotten their coffee in the morning. That's what this mod does, and it does it well. Anyway, this is the Rimmer shirt fix. It makes the logo, which looks ridiculous and stupid, look much better. Now, Rockstar has been fixing some of the textures in the game. I don't think they've gotten to this one yet, though, so it's worth an install. Anyway, moving on. Oops. Click this right out of it into a different window, didn't I? Anyway, this is the... excuse me. All right, this is the Fix Road Texture Blend Bug. It does exactly what it sounds. Basically, where the roads kind of blends together, it does it in a more natural way. This one is the Sandstorm Fix, and this is one of the newer mods that's just come out. And basically, if you're going in the desert and there's a sandstorm going on, it makes everything just look super stupid. Look, it even says right here, it used to look like a world of diarrhea, and it even affected CJ. So yeah, this is before. This is after. Looks a lot more like an actual sandstorm. Definitely a great fix, definitely should add it. All right, this next one is improved bullet holes. Basically, it takes some more of the like cartoony looking bullet holes in the game, and it looks some more realistic. And I've installed it, I've tried some before and after. It basically makes bullet holes a little bit more subtle looking, just in general, but it does what it needs to. It does look a lot more realistic, especially on sand by taking away this yellow popcorn looking color. So after all those mods, those are all like the section that I recommend you use, right? I'm gonna go ahead and go through a few that I would recommend you stay away from. So the first one is something called Better LOD Config. Now, what this mod seeks to do is, in the Definitive Edition, there is like really, really bad pop-in, like texture pop-in. If you have your viewing distance set over medium and you have it set to far or ultra, then like textures from far away are not gonna really load correctly until you get really close to them, and then they're just gonna like pop in at you. It looks super, super bad and super stupid. And it's the same with foliage, it's the same way with a lot of things. And this mod seeks to do that. And really what all this is if you go to Documents, Rockstar Games, San Andreas, Config, Windows No Editor, it's this custom settings INI file, right? That's all this mod is. It's just this same file, except the author has gone through and adjusted some of the settings to make it load better. And I downloaded and installed it, and it's kind of weird. It works flawlessly. It really fixes all the LOD issues, but it does so at the cost of frame rate. And that might seem like a reasonable trade-off, but it's really not. Because when I say at the cost of frame rate, I'm talking like you go from like a smooth, good frame rate to like a super jittery, stuttery one. And if you're just driving around like a small little like local downtown area where you can't see too far anyway, it's okay. Like, it's still not great, but you can work around it. But if you're out in the countryside, I'm talking like you're just driving along, you're minding your own business, and you go over the top of a hill and you see this landscape in front of you, the game is gonna virtually hang in terms of frame rate until it loads all that in, so for a few seconds. So I personally found that this caused way more problems than it was worth, and I would much personally just run it on medium instead of just, you know, dealing with this or with the texture pop-in. Or quite frankly, I would rather even just deal with the texture pop-in instead of dealing with that. But, you know, it's there and it's available if you want to try and fool around with it. Maybe you can modify it, make it run better. But I personally just don't recommend it and don't think it's really worth the trouble that it gives. Like, great attempt at solving the problem, but it's just new problems. You know what I mean? So yeah, I'd say stay away from Better LOD Config. On that same note, this is something called the classic colored radio icons, right? And what it does is it takes the radio icons and adds color to them. And again, beautiful mod, works flawlessly. It was kind of like the uncompressed sounds of GTA. It worked great on patch 103, but once patch 104 came out, doesn't work anymore. If you install this, it will actually crash your game, and you won't be able to launch it until you remove it. Don't know why that is. Don't know if it's ever going to get fixed. But yeah, stay away from this one because you won't be able to run your game. Okay, so the next couple, and these are kind of my last two to go over, is these are actually some Clio scripts. And if you don't know what Clio is, basically it's a program that allows you to run like some different scripts, like JavaScripts for the game, and do some different script-based actions. It was very popular with the original San Andreas, and they've made this version, which works great with the Definitive Edition. And what these two mods do, this particular one opens all interiors. It's similar to the one for the first game, but again, it's for Definitive Edition. It opens all the interiors. You can go inside the buildings, explore, look around. And this one right here changes the game so that you're in first-person view when you're driving a vehicle. So, like, if you go into a vehicle and you press the P letter on your keyboard, it'll put you in first-person view. I have tried both of these mods, and they both work really, really well. So you're probably thinking, well, Cass, if they work well, why don't you recommend them? And the reason for that is they work well, but they still have their problems. The main issue with Open All Interiors is, especially if you're new to San Andreas, it's really confusing, like what is normally enterable and what is not normally enterable with this mod. That is a hard phrase to say. Anyway, so like if you're going, like let's say you're trying to rob a house, right? You're trying to do a burglary mission. This just makes it so you go in at the wrong time and somebody comes after you. Or let's say you're trying to start a mission, right? And you walk up to the mission marker, but it's like right outside somebody's front door. I had that happen a couple of times, and I kept going inside their house, which wouldn't normally be enterable, but is with this mod, instead of triggering the mission. And there were times when I went into a building and got stuck, and I got stuck in like this weird, like, ever ongoing white realm and I couldn't walk or move, and the only way to fix it was like to restart the game or load from my last save or whatever. So yeah, the mod works, but it comes with too much like, well, what ifs to really recommend it. So again, you can go and try this if you want to. You can set up Clio. If you want a guide for that, let me know and I'll be happy to make a quick one and show you how to do it. But yeah, it's just way too many new problems to really be worth recommending. And in the same lane of thinking with this one, this works if you're probably thinking, well, like what happens if you get out of a vehicle? It just mostly returns you to third person mode. But that being said, I again ran into too many issues with this. Like I saw the inside of CJ's face in one episode. That kind of scarred me a little bit even to this day. But yeah, I don't know. It's just these mods are cool and they're like cool little extras to have, but they're just a little bit too buggy to make it worth recommending. So, but yeah, at least you're aware of these. If you want to try them, by all means, feel free. But my personal recommendation, I would just stick with everything else that's like a better improvement and tweak to the game than just trying to add like these 2 extra new features into it. All right, so mod overview done. Let's go ahead and get into the details on installing this. So we're gonna go site by site because each one's a little bit different, right? So for mixed-up mods, it's pretty simple. This is actually probably my favorite out of the 3 to download mods from. You just go ahead and hit this download button. It pops open with this sharemods.com link. You hit create download link. It takes about 5 seconds to generate it. You hit start download, and there you go. Downloads the mod. So for GTA forums, this is just like the only one I think with just this mod. This one's easy. You click this link, goes to Mega, decrypts the folder data. It's just this zip right here. You just want to hit download, standard download. It'll download the mod. For Nexus Mods is like the main well-known modding site, but it's probably one of my least favorite to actually download mods from. And the reason for that is it's just kind of a pain. First of all, you have to make an account, right? You have to create an account or log in with one if you already have one to download something. And then when you go to actually download the mod, right? Like this one, for example, you go to Files, you go to the Files tab, you hit Manual Download, and then it's gonna pop up and ask if you want slow download or fast download. And if you want fast download, that's for premium members only. Slow download is exactly what it sounds like. It's restricted download speeds. It still works fine. You can tell it's like 50 megabytes, but you can see it's obviously gonna take a little bit longer than it would normally take. Like it's gonna take like 20 seconds to download a mod I could probably download in 2 seconds. So again, splitting hairs, it's really not that big of a deal, but I just wanted to show you guys like this is how you're gonna download this. You know what I mean? This is what you have to do to get this particular mod. Anyway, so that's Nexus Mods. For GTA Inside, this one's pretty simple. You just hit the big download button. Goes right to here. You hit start download. There you go. You know, you're done. I take it back. That's probably even easier than mixed-up mods. That's probably my new favorite. All right, so yeah, all these are linked down below. Just go through them, download everything. And when you're done, what you're gonna wanna do, it's super simple. You wanna go to wherever your game is installed. And if it's just installed at the default location, you wanna go to local disk C, program files. You wanna scroll down Rockstar Games, San Andreas Definitive Edition, Game Face, Content, Packs, and then in Packs, you actually wanna make a new folder. So right click, new folder, and you want to name this, what is this symbol called? Let me look it up real quick. Okay, so this symbol is actually called a tilde, whatever the stink it's called. It looks like this. It's like right below the escape key on your keyboard and right above the tab key. So you want to hold down Shift, hit that key. That's how you make that. You want to put down the tilde symbol in this folder, right? And then you want to put mods, and that's what you need to name this, right? And so you're gonna open that new folder and then go back to downloads here. And you're just gonna wanna go through and unzip all these different folders. Now, if you don't have WinRAR or 7-zip, you're gonna need to install one of those programs in order to like extract these, because these are, you know, compressed in RAR and .7z formats. So I have WinRAR installed. It's a good program, but you know, you can use whatever you want. So extract to SAID original HQ icons. You just do that for all the different folders. And each folder you're gonna open it up and there's like a README, but they're all pretty much the same basic directions. And for this, you want to go to Game Face, Content, Packs, and even shows that same little mods folder. And in each one, you've got this pack file, right? And so for this, you're gonna wanna move it to mods, and then you're gonna wanna go back, go on to the next one. Same idea, take the pack file, drop it in this folder. So yeah, you're gonna wanna go through with every single one of the mods we've listed and just go through, take all the pack files and drop them in this folder.
6.5 hours later.
All right, and so after doing all of that, this is what your finished folder should more or less look like. You can see we have a lot of different mod files here. Now, some of these mods come with multiple pack files, some of them come with just one. You should take any ones you can find and throw them in here. So unless the particular README tells you not to, but I think for pretty much all of them, it's just take all the pack files and throw them in here. You can definitely double check the README to make sure you follow any specific directions, but it's all pretty much straightforward. And as you load the game, let's go ahead and see what the finished product looks like. Alrighty guys, and that is how you mod Grand Theft Auto San Andreas, the Definitive Edition. So yeah, you can even see we've just loaded up. There's some of the new fog. There's the cool new yellowish lighting we talked about. Here, look at how reflective the surface of that car is. It looks so nice. You got the music restored. You got all the good stuff. So yeah, now it's still the Definitive Edition, and as such, it's still gonna have some Definitive Edition style bugs to it. But generally speaking, for the most part, this is probably as good as you can get this version to get. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed the modding guide. Hope you found it useful and informative. If you did, please do leave a like and let me know your thoughts down below. Did these mods work for you? Do you have any other recommendations maybe that I missed? Be sure and let me know. And yeah, if you have any problems with this, feel free to reach out. I'll do my best to help you. Again, hope this video was helpful. Hope you get San Andreas looking just the way you want to and have as much of a good time playing it as I have. I will also be streaming this game again soon, so if you want to check that out, be sure and make sure you're subbed, and hope to see you guys on my next stream. So yeah, that's all from me for now. Thank you guys very, very much again for watching. Until next time, I've been your host, Kes Gaming. I will see you all at the top.
Mary had a little lamb. She broke its neck and ate it.